What's goody, YouTube? It's your boy Drizzy here, and as you can see, we're playing 2K22. Well, as you can see, I am not currently playing 2K22. We're just watching myself play 2K22 so I can do a Speculation Sunday. And the reason why we're doing it in 3-on-3 Pro-Am is because that's what this video is kind of about. I have played every My Career game mode besides 5-on-5 Pro-Am. That is the only one I have not played yet. And the weird airball things, but I'm assuming that they give the same rewards as Park, and I don't even think very many people play them, so I don't know how I would get into a game to see the numbers. But that's besides the point. So, we are talking about how well each of the game modes gain VC, how enjoyable they are, and stuff like that in this video, right? This is a Speculation Sunday video, so if you like Speculation Sunday, leave a like and subscribe for more, and let's get into it. So, we will be starting with My Career. My Career, basic game mode. You play in the NBA, you play against NBA players, right? You start off, or you play against only bots. It's only bots, and if you get drafted high, you get about 1,000 VC a game. About 1,000 VC a game, plus your little endorsement boost, roughly goes out to, I get about 1.5, but I play in 12-minute quarters. Not 1.5, I'm like more or less 1 250. But I do play on 11. I do play on 12-minute quarters, right? Which means that you get about 1,000 per 20 minutes or 1,000 per 48 minutes if you play on 12-minute quarters, right? So it really doesn't give you, or it does give you a lot, but you also get more badge points. So it's a very good place to start off with to get your badges, to get a good set of badges, to get a good set of VC, to get your attributes up. But it is not very enjoyable. Like, yes, I can play My Career for a whole day and be fun. Not everyone can do that. My Career can tend to be boring unless you have a godsend imagination and you literally are like in the games with your character, running around shooting threes and shit, right? But we don't talk about that. But the next game mode that is, so in my personal opinion, yes, it is a great game mode to start off with, but it is it's a bad game mode to stay in, if you see what I'm saying. I don't see why you would want to stay in that game mode. Because once you have your badges, once you have a good amount of badges, you're gonna want to play with your friends, because 2K isn't really a game that you can play by yourself. It is not really all that fun, right? So the next step is you get your badges, and then you go to play Park with your friends, right? You go to play the neighborhood. I think the neighborhood might be the worst place to make VC, because, in my opinion, right, each one of these games lasts just about as long, let's say, just about 5 minutes, right? Each game is about 5 minutes. So each game is about a quarter in a 5-minute game, right? You get about 1,000 VC per, right? My Career game of 20 minutes. You get 1,000 VC per. You get about 200. So yes, it evens itself out, but at the same time, it's more stat based, right? So the meta lineup of play shot, block, glass cleaner, or not glass cleaner. Well, yes, glass cleaner, but it's a popper. Yes. So that meta lineup, what ends up happening is the guard gets probably about 300. I would say about 200 to 300 VC. The popper gets about the same. But then the lock does not get close to as much because he doesn't get the ball as frequently. So what ends up happening is that, yes, in turn, it is a good game mode for guards and poppers, but it is not a good game mode for locks, because you're not going to get the ball as much, you're not going to get as much stats and stuff like that, right? But yes, it is probably the most fun game mode, but you also get less, in my opinion, you get less badge points. You get less. It doesn't really work out to be the choice that I would make. Would not be that choice. In my opinion, there's better game modes to play than Park, because it doesn't get it's not the best in VC. It's not the best in badge points. It's not the best in efficiency in both of those subjects. It's probably one of the worst inefficiencies. It's probably literally the worst game mode to play. I'm just making that known. It's probably the worst game mode to play, right? You have the wreck, and then we'll go into another game mode that's really dog shit. You have the wreck, right? The wreck is 5-on-5 20-minute games that give about the same VC. You get about 500 VC per game. It's like if you get drafted in the second round. And my God, I will say the one thing it does do is you get a fuck ton of badge points. You get more badge points in the rec than you do in my career. I promise you do. If you're playing decent, you get more badge points in rec. Obviously, for specific things, you don't get as much for shooting, but you easily outclass how much you get in playmaking. For 12-minute quarters, I got about 12 grand to 13 grand, which I get about 25. I get about 20 to 25 playmaking per my career game, but I play on 12-minute quarters. So getting about 10 to 13 grand in a 5-minute game is really ridiculous. And that was only like 13 assists, just about. So I was getting a lot. Right? I didn't get as much for shooting as I usually did, but I would still get about 30 grand my points. For 5-minute games, that's quite good. I got about, maybe I'd say about 20 to 23. In my career, when I was still playing on 5 minutes, I get about 50 grand now that I'm playing on 12 minutes. But once again, you're playing against real people, so the enjoyment is slightly higher, right? But we will get into probably the greatest game mode in this game next. Pro-Am 3v3. It's just a normal 3v3 game to 21. So you play it the same way you would play Park. You get about damn near double the VC. Everyone gets about 500. Just about 500. So everyone gets about 500. You get a fair amount of badge points, probably the same, if not the same, just a little bit higher than Parks. So it's not a lot, but it is highly more efficient in VC gaining than any game mode in this game. In just about 2 games, you make this about the same amount of VC you would make in a my career game. You make the same, if not the same, more than you would make in a my career game in 2 Pro-Am games that last about 5 minutes because they're about Park games, right? You wouldn't gain as much badge points, or at least it doesn't seem like you would. I don't remember how much I gained from the last game in this video, but if it was around 10K, you would gain just about the same amount you would in a 12-minute game in 4 games. But you would also make the same amount of VC, so you'd make double the VC with the same amount of badge points in 4 games. Plus, it's matchmaking, so if you're a high rep, like you're one of those level 40s that people dodge, you don't have to worry about that because people can't dodge you. If the whole team leaves, they forfeit. You get the win, right? You see what I'm saying? All of the aspects of this game mode is ridiculous, right? This stream that we are currently watching was 4 hours long, and at the end of it, I think I had 25 grand. 25, or it was 20 to 30 grand, right? And yes, it is still performance based. You can still get about you can get about 700 performance based wise, but everyone gets about 500. And as you can see, we play a little differently. Everyone really gets to shoot. Everyone gets the ball. But sometimes I have those games where I go nuclear and I just shoot 5 for 5 or 7 for 7, and I just go nuts, right? But still, in those games, both Champion and Andrew still got 500 VC, right? I happened to get more, but they still got 500 because it's still locked at that 500. But I think The reason why I think that is probably because of a bug. I think that the Pro-Am registers itself as a 5-on-5 game because yes, you do get about 500 VC for playing in the rec, right? You do get about 500 VC for playing in the rec. So I'm thinking that no matter what Pro-Am game you play, it registers as being a 5-on-5 game because that's the only way I can explain the fact that that you get 500 VC for this. I think it's a bug, and if it is, 2K would have patched it already because 2K doesn't play about their VC. But I still think that this is easily the best game mode because of the fact that you gain more VC. You gain about an average amount. You gain about how much you would gain in a quarter, and it's about the same length as a quarter of my career. I think that if you're not playing 3-on-3 Pro-Am, either you don't have 3 people to run with or you're a content creator. There's no way you can justify playing Park. You do not gain the same amount of VC. Yes, I get it. You can streak up, right? That's about it. You don't gain the same amount of VC. You don't gain, you gain about the same amount of my points, right? Let's say that. So if you're a 99, sure, go ahead. You're not going to get that many games unless you're a content creator because people dodge on Park. People can't dodge you in here. You're forced to play games. We had plenty of games that we did not want to play. And we had a game where we went up against not three glass cleaners, but 3 big men. One was a playmaking glass, there was a glass cleaner, then there was another popper, right? We didn't want to face them. But guess what? We had to because it's forced matchmaking. You go in, you face whoever, right? You go in, you face whoever. You gain 500 VC, and then we move on. I think that this is easily the best game mode in this game. I think Park it's fun. Yes, it is fun, right? But once you hit a certain overall, people are not going to play against you. You hit a certain rank, people are not going to play against you. Or you run a certain lineup, people still ain't gonna play against you, right? Unless you are a content creator with that YouTube logo over your head, you don't get as much games as you would get playing in here. Like it takes you a whole nother 5 minutes just to find a game if you lose, right? And even if you win, sometimes people still don't want to play you, right? So I think that the matchmaking system that the Pro-Am has makes this one of the best game modes because as soon as you load out, everyone presses A, you're right back in another game. It's maybe a minute queue, maybe, right? So you get right back into another game and you gain 500 VC per. That's if you play absolute dog shit, you get 500 VC per and you get about 10 grand. I don't see any reason to play any other game mode. I don't see any reason to play my career. I don't see any reason to play Park. I don't see any reason to play the rec, especially not the rec. I think that if you're not playing 3-on-3 Pro-Am, you're stupid. That's just my personal opinion. You have to. And the only way I can rationalize it is that you have to be a content creator. There's no way you could prove to me that you would have to show me numbers. You would have to show me numbers to make it make sense. It doesn't make sense to me because I know I did not make 500 VC per on Park because we've had days where we played entire games of Park. I had maybe 10 grand, maybe 15. But okay, so you do gain less. That's the drawback. That's the drawback. Now that I can see that, you do gain less. You gain about 7. Let's say 7 to 10K. 10K. So you do gain less my points. Okay. You did. So I still don't think that changes anything. That does not change anything. And as you can see, I was player of the game, so I would have gained the most my points. That still doesn't change anything in my opinion. You still gain really an abnormally high value for VC. Like I don't feel like 500 5 minutes, max 7 minutes is Really all that. And also, another thing is if you've ever played Park, you know that you have some of those games where you guys are just jacking threes or jacking threes, and it's a tie game, 21-21, and you keep going past 21, you get to like 23, 20, 25. Well, Pro-Am caps out at 28. So if you get in a lot of games like that and you're tired of it, this game mode caps out at 28. We literally won 28-27, one of the games in this stream. So also, there's another plus to this. There is no latency. Almost no latency. Now there is lag, but there is almost no latency. It took me the first like 4 games we played, I played like dog shit. Same with Andrew, same with Champion. Because there was no latency and it was weird as hell. Right? But if you like no latency, if you're used to no latency, like you play a lot of my career, I would say go to either the Rec or 3-on-3 Pro-Am, or maybe 5-on-5 Pro-Am. I haven't played it, so I don't know. All of those game modes don't have latency to me. Park has a lot of latency. Park has a lot of latency. So, with that being said, that was my final point that I'm going to make on this game mode, because I don't think I have any other points I could make. But we'll summarize it right quick. My career, best to start off with, best at getting badges and VC at the beginning, but is very boring at times, right? So then you have, and then my part, the next good mode. I would say that you gain less VC, but I on average gained about 10 grand, my points. But I guess that's because I was throwing more lobs, right? So I would say it's about the same amount of my points as 3-on-3 Pro-Am, I think. I think it's roughly the same, but I'm not sure. Then you have, but it's obviously the more enjoyable game mode because it's the Park. You play with your friends, play 3-on-3 with your friends, right? So then you have the Rec, right? The Rec is a 5-on-5, 5-minute game, so you would think you gain the same amount of VC as my career. No, you get about 500 VC, 500 base VC added with your stats and all that, right? You gain about 500 base VC. You can get up to 1,000, but you do gain about 500 base VC. In which you play your position and all that, right? So it's literally a 5-on-5 game. So it's somewhat enjoyable, but it can be annoying because you have to play with 5 random teammates, so it can be bad. But all in all, I think it's a decent game mode. It's kind of fun, right? But the lack of, for a better term, you don't gain as much VC. You gain a shit ton of badge points, but you don't gain as much VC as I would think you should, right? So with that, I throw it to kind of this barrel where it's like, if you want to play my career, but you don't want to play my career, if you want to play my career against real people, you go to the Rec, right? And then we have 3-on-3 Pro-Am, which in my opinion is the best game mode in this game. You face real people, you go in a 3-on-3 arena, right? You play the same amount of minutes as a Park game for more VC and the same badge points. Why are we not talking about this? 3-on-3 Pro-Am is easily the best game mode. With that being said, I'm out. Like I said earlier, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. I'm out. Peace out.